Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. I know I've been making quite a few lately, but there's seems to be a lot of stuff going on. What I wanted to talk about today has to do with the concept of an aspect exchange, what people would call walk-in, and how it relates to the memories that we have of our life, of who and what we thought we were, things we thought we did. And I'm bringing this out because I mentioned the other day there that there seems to be a little bit of a personality change in Trump, indicating that to me that he could have had an aspect exchange during the incident that he had on the stage. So Irene and I were talking, and then I get a download of information, kind of a more detailed um, information of about this, what was actually going on, and why we have or don't have some of the memories they have, and why we think that we've done things who what we thought we were in the past isn't really what others think us are. And I mentioned a little bit of that in one of the books when I talked about the idea that each aspect of us is an independent individual aspect and will never be anything more than that aspect. It's like one piece of a puzzle will always be that piece of the puzzle, but it can be put together to create the whole puzzle. And it's the same with us when we have an aspect exchange. We get a new version of ourselves moving in, another aspect of us gives us a new torsion field. And what I realized when we were talking is that oftentimes a person, especially if they're on a kind of a faster advancing course of what we call awakening, and when they look back on their life and they look back on decisions and things that they said they did and why they made those decisions and who they thought they were, it doesn't match with what others around them necessarily remember them being, saying, or doing. Yeah, and it's the same thing with Arena and us, and I'll use us as an example, is that we have both mentioned about things that we've talked about in the past, why we said we must have did something, or who we were at those times when the other the other one of us says, well, no, you were nothing like that, or no, you didn't do that. And the reason that happens is because, as I said, each of us is an individual aspect, and that aspect has its own set of vibrations within that field, the torsion field, and it's had certain experiences and done and said certain things. So when the new aspect of ourselves comes in to take over and start running the life, and I talked about that in my other videos, aspect one, part one, and part two, the aspect that comes in has a different set of memories and experiences about how it lived out that first part of the life. So when you say, well, no, I did this in the past because of this reason, well, in reality, yes, that aspect of you that is now in you did it that way because that was that aspect. But within this reality, this universe that we're in, it did not happen that way. You were not that person because you were a different aspect of yourself. So how things happened differently. So that's the reason that as we move forward, it's you could almost look at it as our own personal Mandela effect, in that we think things happened a certain way, but in reality, they didn't. But they did in the other aspect of us who lived that part of that life. But in the aspect that is in us now, that experience was different. And that's probably where the Mandela effect itself comes from, as they talk about switching realities. Well, within ourselves, it's more about the aspect exchange. A new aspect of us comes in and has different memories, and it did things differently in the past because of the level that that aspect was at. In other words, it dealt with those issues differently. And sometimes when we think back, we think that that is what we did. Well, in reality, we didn't. I can't speak a lot from my own experiences because I have very little memory of most of my life from the past. And of course, I realize I talked about that in the books that that's because I really had very little emotional attachment to it. So the aspect that came into Ron, and the one that I got, at least how many I've had since that one in 2018, I don't know, but the one that came in at that time really didn't bring much in the way of memories in the past about who and what we were. It's pretty much blank. So I'm not sure just why that is, other than the fact that maybe my aspects that are coming now as I move forward were never in this world to begin with, which is why they don't have those memories and those thoughts and decision making things that they did. Now, I think I would have done this differently had I been there. But again, that's this aspect speaking, not the aspect that actually lived that life. Anyway, I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Thank you for watching.